It does. And what reminds me of like what you're posing in that question is the operations order in the military. So in the Army, how we do it, right, is there's a section, because there's 5 paragraphs to it, right, to your operations order. There's one section in there that breaks down the phases of the operation. So if I was to take just that section and say, hey, phase one of you going, let's call it 0 to 100K in your business. Let's just make some round numbers. That's phase one. There's so many different things that are involved in that phase one that you have to do. In that operations order, how we write it out, it might be a little paragraph of just telling us like the narrative of what phase one looks like. So you can identify, but here's the gem out of it is when you're done with phase one, towards the end of that little paragraph, it'll have a sentence to set you up to let you know when you are done with phase one. Phase one ends is how the sentence starts all the time. Phase one ends with X, Y, and Z. Phase two begins with X, Y, and Z. And then you go down the page and you hit phase two. What I see for business owners in that mid-size range that are trying to grow, that are getting stuck in those places in that growth mode, is they don't know, they haven't identified, they don't have the clarity of when phase one ends to when phase two begins, when phase two ends to when phase three begins, when phase three and usually ours is 4 phases, right? But at each phase, we know, I can, as the commander, I know exactly when that phase ends, so I can transition into phase two. And phase two is going to look different. I'm going to need to do different tasks. I'm going to need to maybe have different resources lined up and available. But if I plan well enough and I have at least, because we don't know the future, but if I can guess what the next phase is going to look like, or if I can dictate what I want the next phase to look like, I can set the conditions and say, this is how I know when I'll reach the end of phase one, and this is what I need to start preparing for phase two. So now you're not caught on the back foot. You're not behind the 8 ball trying to build upon the momentum that you already got, or you're losing steam and you're wondering why. Well, it's because you didn't define that.